I'm Jeremy Cecil here in Nairobi. Welcome to African Television Network. This show is going to be taking an in-depth view of affairs that affect public attitudes in business, education, and sports. Stay tuned for the major stories of the week. The Trump administration has opted to lift the ban in regards to trading sported hunter trophies. Now, this lucrative billion-dollar business has been a crux in Africa's wildlife for the past few decades. Now, how is Kenya going to cope with this new information that has come to light? Let's take a look at that new information. Given that this is a major issue for African countries and specifically for Kenya, let's take a closer look at some of the major issues that affect poaching in Kenya and how these strategies have been implemented over the years. I've brought on board today for the show my panelists from the African Network for Animal Welfare, and now they're going to be discussing a lot of the issues and a lot of the strategies that have been implemented over the years to combat poaching. Now, over the course of the show, we're going to be taking some of the feedback from you guys on Twitter and on Facebook, but mostly on Twitter. So be using the hashtag #SaveOurWildlife. Let's take a look at what some of you guys have been saying. Here at Abu says that this is a major issue that we should be taking seriously, and more of the public should be aware of what's going on in terms of our wildlife. I couldn't agree more. So let's take a short break and come back to where Linda is going to be taking over.
In what ways do you think the government has aided in the fight against poaching?
I think they have tightened the security by adding trained personnel in the field.
How do you think the government has helped in fighting against poachers?
My perspective will be they have really gone further to barricade the parks really well, in that the poachers will not get easy access to get into the parks.
So Linda, what do you think about the current situation in terms of poaching in Kenya?
Generally, as Africans, we pride ourselves in our wildlife, our lions, our elephants, our rhinos, which are now going extinct because of poaching, which should not be the case. As a Christian, God told us to take care of all that He put on this earth, including ourselves, including the animals that are being poached. So as a pro-environment kind of person, as a fighter for animal rights, I don't think this should still be happening.
Now let's take a look at the other social media opinion, what you guys are saying out there. At Moses says that our wildlife is something that we should take seriously and be more involved in. I completely agree, Moses. Thank you for chiming in. All right. So today on the show we have one of our experts, Mr. Kahindi Lakeli, who works at the Africa Network for Wildlife Animal Welfare. He's been working with elephants for a number of years, 9 to 10 years to be precise. He's going to be giving us some of the strategies and some of the things that he's seen over the years that have helped animals. Mr. Kahindi, welcome to the show. So what do you think is the current situation affecting poaching in Kenya?
Anti-poaching operations in our country have been so effective to reduce the illegal poaching and incursion activities into Savo-East and Savo-West National Park, in spite of being close to Somalia and a lot of volatile areas there that have got a very high preponderance of small arms, to a point that these particular elephants have begun increasing again. But we guess that it is the anti-poaching operations, but it can also be other biological factors. for example, the increase in food bills, and also the emigration of people, into smaller towns and leaving the former agricultural areas alone as a result of high crop failure. So it's a multitude of reasons.
Now, welcome to our second panelist, Catherine Chumo, forgive me. Catherine has been working with wildlife in Kenya for the last couple of years, and she has some level of expertise when it comes to implementing these strategies. Catherine, welcome to the show. Tell us a bit about these strategies and how they've helped us as a country curb poaching.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Okay, so it has been noted that lately the US has been making moves legally in terms of wildlife, both in the US and in the African countries. So among them is, the lift of the ban of hunting grizzly bears in the US, and we also have the ivory lifted, basically addressed to Namibia, South Africa, Botswana and Zimbabwe, and those, the ban is lifted and there's legal trade of ivory. So that has implications, definitely. What happens in Botswana happens in Kenya. What happens in Kenya affects what happens in South Africa. So what happens in an African country?
All right, thank you, Catherine. There you have it, guys. If you ever need more information, be sure to go to that website. We'll be providing that information below. Now, our final panelist, Steve Atella, who's also an expert in wildlife conservancy, to agree on that one.
Thank you.
What are some of the current projects that you've been involved in over the years that have made an impact on wildlife in Kenya? Have you seen any of those? Have you been a part of any? If you could tell us maybe one or two. How's it?
It's a very interesting question that I will not answer and say yes it does, because you will even find that in countries where they have wildlife trade, like what we are talking, what was actually the case in point between the US and the Zimbabwe, poaching still does take place, even when you've got such lucrative ventures. And so in Kenya, which is more of a protection state, we also have poaching taking place. However, our concern normally is at what level is that poaching affecting the species?
All right, thank you, Mr. Atella. Well, there you have it. Those are all our panelists. Thank you for all of them for coming onto the show. Hopefully this has been an educative and informative piece of information, a piece of content that you guys will enjoy. Stay tuned for the next episode. Let's take a look at what some of you are saying using the hashtag #SaveOurWildlife on Twitter. One of you here I'm not going to read that username, but he says, or she, I'm not sure, it's an important issue that the government should take seriously, and I agree with that. Now, this is a heated topic, but I personally believe that people today have been more educated, especially if you pursue further education. You'll begin to understand more about recycling and taking care of your environment, which leaks into taking care of wildlife. I like to just add that if you're ever in need of more information, be sure to contact the panelists, and be sure to contact me. My contact information is @JeremyKenya on Twitter or any other social media handle. So be sure to email me as well. I'll be providing that information. Thank you for tuning in.